Tried to hold us back, to hold us, tried to hold us back.
We will be here forever. Do you understand? Forever and ever.
Hey, it's Shan here. This week, I speak with James McMillan. James has been on the show. Last time was in 2021 at the height of the COVID lockdowns. It was an online recording, and for some reason, the things that he said in that conversation really hit a chord with a lot of people, and it was the most listened to episode of that year. And we'd planned to have another recording together at some stage, so it's been about 2.5, 3 years, except this time we meet in real life and we record in his art studio in the hills of Mullumbimby, New South Wales, east coast of Australia, near Byron Bay. It was post-rain, it was humid, really hot, and it was right on dusk, and his art studio has like a big garage door, so we had that open, and then we're surrounded by his art, and there was no wind, and we were just sweating it out and just talking story. He's a wise man, and in a lot of ways he's been such a mentor to me over the years. Like, we stayed in contact since our first recording, and we had a lot of phone calls, text messages, and he was giving me advice on certain aspects of life. And I'm very grateful for James, and I know that he's someone that I'll be friends with for probably the rest of my life, actually. He's a profound artist. He's an author. He's the founder and organizer of the Byron Bay Surf Festival. He's a, lifelong surfer, spiritual man of faith, father, an all-round rad human. So enjoy my conversation with Mr. James McMillan. Everybody, cheers.
Tried to hold us back.
Get what I'm saying?
Tried to hold us. He tried to hold us vain. Tried to hold us back. Forcing the vein.
Child of the crayon, child of the light, styles of the neon belong to a culture destined to rock for eons. Time doesn't exist. Shut those cataracts, capture the virtualist. Now let's get back to what makes things seem forever, whether it's unseen, unheard, or it's 16 again. Not a bother. Fill this old man river, kill a floor that gives all. Coming upstream, quiver, sex style, easy rock, drop to the floor, lower to the earth, causes a cosmic shock.
How's that? 1, 2.
You've got a good voice.
Yeah?
Has anyone ever told you that?
No.
I hear a lot of voices.
Okay.
And you've got a good one. Like, it's good. It's got a good tone, deep.
Ah. 1, 2.
We just like social media'd out real hard, hey?
Yeah, totally. That was fun.
As an artist, like, what does social media mean to you?
Just a way to show people the work I'm doing, and I actually like the creative process of making something.
Do you?
Reels are really fun.
Are they?
Yeah, I love doing reels.
Interesting.
No,
So you're not like anti?
No, I really enjoy it. I love like selecting little clips and then gluing them together and putting some music with it and then publishing something. Like you get to publish something in 10 minutes, and it's creating something, I love the process. And then once it's out there, it has a purpose as well because it shows people what I'm doing. So I really enjoy it. I do understand the other side you're saying. Like, there is a negative side for me too. Sometimes I can, in the morning when I get up and I want to meditate, and I'm like, better just check my list for today. Yeah. So I have a look at the list, and then I'm like, just have a quick look at Insta, just in case someone sent me a DM, and then bang, you're in there a bit.
Does it drive sales?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I get most of my commissions off Instagram.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really feel like Instagram is just for artists and photographers, ultimately.
Yeah. Well, it's not, what was it started as? Social media. I guess it's changed a lot since it started, from my understanding.
Instagram was different, though. It was just originally just you put a picture up.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd even comment. Or you could just write a caption and that was it.
Yeah.
There wasn't much interaction going on.
Yeah.
I thought it was stupid the first time I seen it. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Facebook's way better.
Yeah. I don't even look at Facebook hardly at all. A lot of my friends do, like some group of friends do and some don't. And when I actually do look at it, I'm like, wow, they're actually doing lots of stuff over here, and I have no idea about anything. They just, all the things that are happening in their lives and stuff like that, I don't see it because I just don't like the platform, how it looks. I don't like the colours. Nothing.
Interesting.
It doesn't appeal to me.
See, the colours, like that's something I've never thought of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay.
It's very mainstream too.
The whole thing, the word, the guy behind it. I know the guy behind it's the same one behind Instagram, but I just have more fun on Instagram, sending DMs with emojis and it's just quicker and I don't know.
Do you consume mainstream news media?
Not at all.
Interesting. No one does.
Which is...
fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So many people have turned away from it.
Really?
100%.
I mean, sometimes I feel a bit lost because I might have conversations at the beach with another couple of blokes or whatever, and I'll start talking about this or that, and I have no idea what... I understand the topic, and I know the topic, but I don't go into it. You know, some of the current topics right now that, you know, I don't ever want to mention them. I'm aware of them and I'm sympathetic and empathetic towards the whole thing and the people involved, but I don't get involved at all because I've got my own little mission that I'm on, and, you know, part of my little mission's putting some other good stuff out there for humanity, hopefully, as well. So,
do you find like that negativity can hinder or inspire you in your processes?
Like my art processes or my life?
Yeah, like, you know, connecting with mainstream or, you know, news, current affairs and learning about what's going on in the world. Can it be inspirational or is it just making you feel negative?
It doesn't make me feel negative, but I understand that it lowers my vibration. And where I like to vibrate at is a high place. And I want to stay in that place because in that place I feel really good. And then when I interact with other people, they get that from me as well. So I'd rather be there for me and for other people. So I just try and stay there. And I'm not, I don't sort of turn a blind eye to things. I still hear about them, but conversations I have with other people, friends and people I meet, they never go that way, I guess, because I'm drawn to people that are sort of talking about different things from mainstream media and I guess they're drawn to me for the same reasons, and we have different conversations, you know. They're still deep and they're still about, you know, things in our life and stuff like that, but not about mainstream news, which is mostly negative. But I just sort of let it go.
What raises your vibration? Give me some examples.
Surfing, meditating, good food, the sunshine, green grass, painting, beautiful people, like any humans that are having good conversations and stuff like that, praying, just stuff like that.
I love that. There's heaps of things.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff for sure.
You're conscious enough to know what raises your vibration.
Yeah, I just know because when I wake up every morning and I look outside, like I can't get up quick enough. Like serious, like I cannot sleep in. When I wake up and my eyes open up and I see the blue sky or even the grey sky, I'm like, oh, cool, let's do it again. Like, let's do this thing again. Can't wait. And then just look at what I have to do that day, and I just can't wait to do it.
In our last episode, which I will add, it was wildly popular. It got listens for it was like 2 or 3 years ago now. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, it was 2.5 years. I had a look yesterday, I think.
2.5 years ago, yeah. And it just continued to get listen after listen, and it still does. And it was an online recording, and I personally wasn't happy with the quality of the audio. I remember I had some tech issues, but it just really reminded me that sometimes that stuff doesn't matter as much as the message being sent, and the message you were putting out there was really profound. And you relayed a story of an experience you had, and you're in the depth of depression, and something shifted. Where are you at with that journey? Is there still that, I guess, feeling of enlightenment following you around?
It comes there's something always there. There's something kind of, I feel like I've been doing some practices that I do I've been surfing for at least 35 years and been meditating, I think, for about 23. What else is cool that I do? But I think those things really lift your vibration, or you could call it your state of mind, or, you know, your experience of life. And I'm continuing to do those things and probably pushing in deeper and deeper with those sorts of things. And then, you know, I've been painting for 25, 27 years as well. and being around my art and all the colours and stuff like that, and I'm always researching, looking at other artists and see what they're doing and stuff like that. All that stuff just keeps in a pretty high place. And I spend quite a lot of time alone in my studio painting and also in the surf, and which I don't mind, and all those things keep me in a pretty high place. And I live a pretty clean life, like clean food, don't party. I wouldn't call it partying, I socialise. Occasional party. But yeah, not a huge drinker or, no drugs or anything like that. I get high off cacao.
It doesn't actually give you a high, because I know there's like cacao ceremonies.
Yeah. I get high, my system's really sensitive. I can have one glass of cacao, and like when I'm painting sometimes, if I get a bit like I'm just a bit stuck and I'm a bit bored, I'll just go and make a cacao, and then 30 minutes later I'm like, this seems like a pretty good idea. Didn't seem like a good idea before. And I'm in a different state of mind, and that'll just roll for like 3 hours or something. So
would you compare it to like a caffeine high?
Probably. I've never had caffeine, but I've had black tea, which is in...
Wait up, you've never had caffeine? Coffee?
Never had caffeine, no.
You've tried it?
Never. I know, I'm a weirdo. I know.
No, I call it unique. Wow.
Yeah, I've never had it. But there is black tea in chai, and that's caffeine. Like, it's like, is that caffeine? I thought it was.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
It's different to coffee, but it's
different to coffee.
Yeah, it's more of like a sustained energizing.
Yeah, right.
Or stimulation.
So I have had that, but I stopped having that a few years ago too, because I got right into it for a little while, the black tea and the chai. There's this one called Byron chai, which is really nice, but it's got lots of black tea in it, and I was getting super high some afternoons, and I was into it. But then I just was not in a good place, so I was like, stop having that. So
not in a good place in what way?
Just
anxious?
Probably just anxious, just going too hard with it, trying to get too high on it. I know it sounds weird because I speak to some people and they're like, what, you get high on chai? I'm like, well, I did, 100%. And I think it's because, like I was talking to you about this morning, I didn't drink alcohol for 14 years. And then when I had my first glass of vino or a beer, like 14 years later, I was like tipsy instantly. And then anything I'd have after that, I was just like, high, like so quick. So sensitive. The cacao, I was like, my whole system's really sensitive, yeah.
Are you emotionally sensitive?
Everything, the whole
Ever
thing.
since you can remember?
I think so, yeah, probably. But probably more so like, the thing you were talking about before, the depression sort of stuff, probably after I came out of that, probably even more so. Like sensitive to like, just everything, every feeling in me and like feelings in nature and like when other people are around, I kind of sense other people's feelings and just every tiny little thing I feel. So it's kind of like a blessing and a curse. And it's like, it can have you really high and can have you really low. You can experience like extreme contrasts. And I understand for me when they're coming, like if I'm just like super high, like for days and days, which is kind of normal. And then I might, if I haven't had much sleep, because sometimes I'll just be like so absorbed into like painting and surfing, like doing my life and stuff like that. I'll just like stay up really late and then get up really early to do it again because I just can't wait to do it again. And sometimes I'll nosedive because I wouldn't have had enough sleep. So then I'll just have a really long sleep in, like once every 2 weeks or something like that, and just recharge, and then I'm good to go again. And I'll try and go level, but then I'll just get like, oh, this is too rad. Like, no, I'm staying up. I'm going to stay up and paint or stay up and have that long conversation with my friend or with my son or whatever, so kind of.
You're not too rigid with it?
Not really, because I don't mind. Like if I get to a nosedive point, I kind of like... I like the experience because it's a different experience and it feeds different things into me, like new experiences. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, write it down, like record this because you won't have it again probably for a while.
You know those moments, like when they're there. You're conscious enough to identify those moments. Like this is a special moment. It's an inspiring moment.
Yeah, it's like a different moment, you know. I'm like feeling uneasy and thinking about not cool things and like, yeah, it's not the most comfortable moment, but I still embrace it because I'm like, well, I know this isn't going to last long, so let's do something with this. Like, let me experience this and like write about it or paint about it or like do something with it.
That sensitivity is interesting. You know, it's quite synonymous with people who've sustained childhood trauma. That emotional sensitivity, which can be a blessing and a curse in their adulthood. You know, a lot of people use it for creativity or propelling them forward in whatever they're into.
Yeah.
Does that resonate with you?
It's probably, I mean, I have looked at that stuff a while ago, childhood trauma stuff, and I've still got a couple of things hanging around that I sort of work on with this one therapist, which is kind of fun. I like that adventure of digging into things and seeing what's there and then working through them. So there is a couple of things I'm working on, one main thing. And, you know, and I think, you know, flatline experience of life is so boring. It's like, what
do you mean? Sorry, flatline?
Feeling the same every day.
That's
you know
flatlining.
I mean? I guess I just said that because I was just looking at the fence out there and it was going straight across and I'm like, you know, like imagine being on the same keel the whole time. That to me, to some people, like they'd probably like be stoked with that because it's like, hey, this is comfortable, this is easy, and I'm you know, nothing's going to happen to me.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, I respect that and I understand that, but it's not for me, you know. And so when those other things do come in, you know, I'm like, okay, cool, let's go with this for a bit because I do really understand that it's not going to last. Like I know that 100%, you know, and yeah, and I know some people, you know, want to totally avoid that, and I do everything they can to avoid it, and I support some of my friends in that as well, you know.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm not feeling well, man, can I come and have a chat? And I'm like, yeah, come down the studio, just come anytime, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll be there painting, come down. And I have friends that come here and they just pull up a stool and I just stop painting and we just talk for a couple of hours and have a hug and then they leave and like, you know, they feel better and yeah, it's good.
You are very like a calm presence to be around. Have you been told that before?
I have, yeah, but I've never understood it actually. But I guess I've heard it a few times.
You're very like warm, and I feel like I can really relax. Like I don't have to like tread on eggshells in any way. It's really nice.
Yeah, cool. That's good to hear. Nice to hear.
It's a compliment for you.
Oh,
just don't let it go to your head on it.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's nice to hear things of people experiencing nice things, you know, especially when you're unaware of them.
Obviously, you're a lifelong surfer, but like, what drew you to the intersection of like art and surfing, and you know, how do these passions kind of complement each other and influence each other?
Yeah, I think they definitely. I mean, there is a crossover. I think. I mean, I started surfing first before I sort of started really doing art. I started surfing when I was 11 and started doing art probably when I was about 15 or 16. And I really just started doing the art because my dad was a drawer and a painter and a sculpturist, and my sister painted a lot too. And, you know, I thought if my dad could draw, maybe I could as well. You know, but I wasn't that good at drawing people, which I used to go and try and do in Sydney. But obviously I was just starting on my art journey, you know, and then sort of, you know, then I sort of started painting a bit more up in, you know, towards the 20s and stuff like that. And I guess I was like really interested in surfers that were, you know, had creative pursuits like filmmakers, musicians, artists, writers and stuff like that. And I feel like that space when you surf, it's, you know, it's a really creative space if you want to have that perspective on it. And for me, I have that perspective, like you get this wave and like you can do on that wave whatever you want to, you know, and it's like, I think people and myself, are influenced by other surfers that you watch, and you're like, oh, bottom turn, hit the lip, bottom turn, hit the lip, or this cutback or whatever. But, it's an open canvas, and sometimes just going straight across the whole thing is actually a really cool moment as well, just like, just draw that line all the way across. And people are like, what did you do, man? You didn't even do anything on all those sections. I was like, yeah, but it felt really good. They're like, really? You're like, yeah, I actually did feel really good. Because you actually got a chance to feel it. But I'm not against going up and down. I love doing that on my shortboard, like just bottom turn, hit the lip, and just like, really getting into it. But then I have other moments where I just want to go straight.
Just stand there.
Just stand there and feel it. Just feel that thing. It's only like 5 seconds, it'll be gone. But as far as the crossover thing goes, I don't know if I'm directly inspired, with my art by my surfing. I think maybe with colours and stuff like that potentially, but I think it's more the people and the people that I've been inspired by that are surfers and things, the creative things they do. And I had a long time when I was like riding into skateboarding too, and like some of the skaters, like when I'd open Thrasher magazine or Transworld, they'd always have an art section. And I'd see these guys doing the art, and I'd be like, oh, wow, rad, and they'd be doing that in their spare time and stuff like that. So I really got inspired by actually lots of skaters and what they're into creatively. So, I just really looked at that as a really awesome lifestyle to live. And I was like, well, my dad was an artist and, I surf and I want to do both these things. So I started including those in my life and pursuing them. And they really fed me personally how I like to be in the world, and that's evolved over 25 years or whatever. But I'm still pursuing both of them, more than ever, and trying to surf as much as I can, which is almost every day, and almost painting almost every day.
I mean, for your age, do you want to share your age? No, you don't have to share your age. But I'm just like, you surf every day,
yeah,
and like, it just seems like you're fitter than ever and healthier than ever.
Yeah.
I mean, is that just directly linked to a lifetime of surfing and skateboarding, you think? Or
I think so. I think, like I was saying to you before, earlier today when we were having something to eat, or maybe it was this morning when we were having a try. I think not drinking for all those years definitely served me in a positive way, for sure. And I've been sort of practicing yoga for, a long time, probably 20 plus years. And then surfing like all the time, and then all those years of skateboarding too, I think. And I'm still really active now. Like I've naturally got lots of energy. Like I'm always up for doing things. I go like hiking in the bush, and I used to rock climb for a long time when I lived in Sydney as well, out in the Blue Mountains, with this good friend of mine called Adam Taylor. And so I did that for probably, 5 to 7 years. I think just being active and been vegetarian since I was 18. It's probably just the sum of all those things that have kind of allowed me to sort of keep pushing the way I push now and keep active,
Yeah, man.
And I'll never forget this guy in Cronulla. I used to sort of work at a surf school at Wanda in Cronulla. And this guy, I can't remember his name. He had a classic old guy's name. I think it was like Sydney or something like that. And he lived at Gymea, which was a bit of a bike ride from Cronulla. But he used to ride from Gymea to Cronulla, come to Wanda Surf Club. He kept his single fin there. He had this pair of dick stickers that was like down to his knees, and this vest. And he used to put this vest on, grab his single fin, walk down the beach. It was 83 at this time. And he'd go out, catch one wave, or sometimes just sit there and then just walk back in, put his board in, have a coffee at the shop, get on his bike and ride back home. And he had one of those old racer bikes with the backwards handlebars. And, those ones, classic, yeah. And I said, how do you ride down here every day? Like, how old are you, Sid? And he told me one day I was 83. And I was like, wow, I can't believe you do this every day from Gymea, because I don't know how many Ks it is. It's probably 25K round trip, I guess. And he's like, well, if you stop moving, he goes, you stop moving. And he goes, if you keep moving, you can keep moving. And I was like, I'm going to remember that later when I have to, when I want to keep moving, and maybe I feel like I can't move, but I will keep moving because you told me and it works. I can see it.
It does.
So, yeah, and I believe that for sure.
Yeah, it's on my mind a lot as I age. I'm like, if I stop doing these things now, am I ever going to start again?
Yeah.
And when I was living in Bali, you see the old rice farmers.
Oh, yeah.
Just insane. Like those guys are in their 80s and 90s and they're still out in the rice fields, harvesting, planting, working the fields, carrying big bales of grass and hay to feed the cows.
Yeah.
And for them, it's just pure, it's like a meditation. And they know that if they stop, they're going to die. And they just keep going. They love it, being out there in that natural environment as well.
Yeah, under the sun.
You know, we're in your beautiful art studio. It's special, the land that it's on, surrounded by open fields. And, you know, I got here and we were just really delayed getting started on the podcast because I just kept wanting to stand outside and absorb the serenity because I'm not used to it. I live in like a city.
Yeah.
And I guess like a question I have for you is, you know, how would you say the natural environment, but I guess particularly the ocean, but even a space like this, like inspire and I guess inform your creative process?
It's mainly like every day that I drive out here, my house is only 10 minutes away, but when you come along the laneway here that goes for probably about, 6 or 7 minutes, it's all covered in trees. You can see Mount Warning, you can see Mount Chincogan, Mount Jerusalem, all these beautiful mountains on your way out. There's black cockatoos, there's like snakes, lizards, kangaroos. You see all that, and you just get this innate connection to nature. And I never take it for granted. Like every day, like one of the first things I do is just like be grateful for like, I pray in the morning, I was just like so grateful for this, and this. And then once I've done that and I open my eyes up, I'm just like, yes, look at this. Look what I get to do today. Even whatever work it is I do, whether it's the artwork or working on, the festival that I do or doing a bit of carpentry. I just love it all. And then coming out here, you've experienced the land, how it feels. It's just...
There's a feeling.
There's definitely a feeling out here for sure.
Had Jake McKenzie on the podcast, you know him?
Yeah, I know Jake, yeah.
I love Jake.
Yeah, great man.
Yeah, I mean, he just radiates depth and spirituality, that guy. And he described these energy centers around the world. And he's like, he goes, I really believe there's just energy centers. And that's why a lot of people are drawn to them for various reasons. And he's like, he really believes that Bali and parts of Bali are one of them. And he talked about somewhere in Mexico, he talked about New York, maybe LA as well, various parts of it. And he's like, and Byron Bay, it's an energy center. He goes, you can't deny it when you're on that land. And that's why like so many people come here and they're inspired and they're creative and they're just happy. Like I've even noticed it, like the contrast because I don't live here and then I come here. I just feel like more people are smiling. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Just an observation. So.
No, it is. This land's really special. It's owned by really a sannyasin, actually, this land.
Oh, who?
A sannyasin. Like a sannyasin is a disciple of Osho, which was a spiritual community, I think, that was out of Oregon, actually. I could be wrong, but yeah, in California.
Okay.
And a lot of people from Byron went over there to join that community. And, and then when it was over, they came back here and this place is owned by an one of those guys, and he's a beautiful man. He's a photographer. And, and I had a friend of mine out here the other day, and she's a psychic. She's an amazing woman. But she got out of a car and she was like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, what is this land? Who owns it? Like, who's behind this? And, she was feeling all this stuff. And, it is, there's that side of it. And then there's just the natural beauty that you see when you look out here and you see the green hills. And when the sun sets behind that single palm tree there, it is a really beautiful spot. And it's really quiet here. And it's a good space to create, for sure, without any outside influences.
Do you think you could produce the same works if you did it from your residential place?
I seem to be able to, yeah.
You still can?
I did. I had my studio at home for a long time. I've been here for about 2 years, and I had my studio at home, downstairs in my house in a big room down there for probably 10 years. It was a bit crowded. It definitely feels better, and I guess I've been able to get more work done and stuff like that. But I think my state of mind's different out here for sure. There's like more, it's just all open. There's the sky out there, and I think it opens you up to sort of new ideas, and different ideas can come in, and you can walk out and be out in the air straight away. And sometimes the horses come by and the cows and stuff like that. And I think all that stuff kind of inspires my state of mind, and like and the ideas I get and stuff like that for sure.
You said that you pray most mornings?
Yeah.
Who do you pray to?
God.
God of your own understanding?
Well, I guess my understanding of God's changed over the years for sure. I grew up in a Christian school, Catholic church and stuff like that. And I guess I got taught that God was a man in the sky with a white beard. And I used to look up there and think he was up there somewhere. But I guess my understanding of God's changed. Definitely, for me, God means a higher power, and like, or the source, or like, the presence that's never an absence. But yeah, pray to God and Jesus sometimes, depends on what the subject is and what sort of I'm looking for that day. And to me, praying is, from my experience, which has been a long time doing that, and also sort of, researching manifestation and stuff like that, they're almost the same thing. They're pretty much the same thing. Like, I've looked at both sides, scientific side, the spiritual side, and done both myself, and they're pretty much the same thing as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Bit more of a conversation there, but like, yeah.
No, it's good to get your perspective and take on it. I think more people need to do it. And I think they need to, in my opinion, not let religious dogma prevent them from even just experimenting with the act of praying or speaking to something else.
Yeah.
And turning their will over to whatever that is, as opposed to running off their own self-will. Yeah. I feel like a human self-will is the source of all evil in our world. So when you speak to something else and humble yourself to that, it feels like, and I don't know how it works, it just works, and I think people that have experienced will know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And that's where the development of faith occurs. Yeah. And it just seems like life just gets better when you continuously do that. Even if you're not a smart person and you don't want to overanalyze it, I guarantee if you pray every day for a month, you're going to just notice that your life's getting better. Yeah. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a good practice to have for sure. Yeah. And, I think just when words come out of your mouth, they're coming out of your body, so it's like it's coming out of you, and all of a sudden it's out here, in the ether, with God, with the universe, or whatever you want to call it. And things happen with that, there's a vibration in words, there's a vibration in desires and needs and wants and offerings. And one of the first, I think, things to make that happen in your life, one of the most powerful things you can do if you're trying, if you're praying or manifesting, is first to forgive, any forgivenesses you need to do in your life. If you do those first, take that energy back. Because if you've got sort of, I don't know, someone that's unforgiven in your life, or or a number of things, your energy is attached to that, you know what I mean? Like, that person still did this thing wrong by me, or my ex, or whatever it is.
Like resentment.
Resentment, yeah. But if you forgive that person or those people, for those things, and take that energy back to you and give that back to them, it'll free you up, and you'll have more of your own energy back with you, instead of having that sort of thing attached to them, So that's why it's called forgiveness, because you're forth giving that back to them, and you're keeping your energy here. That way, you'll have more to take into the future, of your own. So you're more whole.
Dude, that's really profound.
It's just the truth. It's just how it is. It's like, yeah, and it's...
And you've noticed it in your life?
For sure. Yeah.
So you manage. Would you say you manage resentments well? And do you think you're getting better at the practice of forgiveness? Because I think it is something that needs to be practiced.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's so hard.
Definitely hard.
For me, it's resentment and holding resentment. I've said this before on the podcast, but it's my biggest lifelong challenge.
It's a challenge.
I want to forgive. I want to.
Yeah.
And I know it poisons me.
Yeah.
But the hurt is sometimes deep and I just don't want to let it go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm totally hearing you, man. It's hard. It's hard to forgive, and there's people that do, wrong things by other people and people get hurt and I've been one of them as well, as you have and as all of us probably have. But, I did write a list of about 10 things down, the things I wanted to forgive people for in my life. And
Is that a method you used?
That's what I used, yeah.
Oh, can you break it down for us? I think it'd be really helpful for people to hear.
It was pretty easy. I mean, I just wrote down, like number one was like my dad, Dad, why'd you leave me? You left me when I was 2 years old. I was abandoned, you went and married someone else, had other kids. Like I felt shit house, And I've never actually forgiven him for that, and he might not think he needs to be forgiven, but for me, I've held that against him, and then there was like, my mum's boyfriend that she had that was an alcoholic, and he used to like, be violent towards my mum. And I remember one day thinking to myself, when he was no longer with us, and we ran away from the house that we were in because he knew we were there. And I mentioned that in the last podcast. Yep. And I said, one day I said, if I ever see that guy, I want to kill him, And so part of my list when I wrote these things down was like, forgive my dad, forgive Ray, and just there's other things. And then I just went through them and I closed my eyes and I was like, Dad, I don't understand why you left, but you did, and you're a man and I'm a man and we're humans and things happen to us, and I forgive you, and I love you, and I've still been hurt by it, but like I forgive you for doing it, and sayonara, so did that one, then I just did the next one, and each time I did it, I just totally let it go. I was like, nah, that's gone. It's gone. And I just did that like through the whole thing.
And you were able to let it go. Because I know for me too, I can do it.
Yeah.
And then I'll have a period of time where I've let it go.
Yeah.
And then a couple of days later, it's back again. I can do it again.
Yeah. Well, look, it might not be like I guess when I did mine, I didn't just do it with the words. I kind of like, I closed my eyes and I tried to like picture the energy of that unforgiveness come up out of my body and just kind of release it out of my system. Like I kind of went through a bit of a thing. I just didn't say it. I kind of felt it with my eyes closed, and I just felt that.
Through meditation?
Yeah. Well, not really. Just with my eyes closed, just simply close my eyes and just like, yeah, Dad, I forgive you for this and that, etc. And then I just kind of that, wherever that was in my body, like because you store that stuff in your body, I just went to that place wherever I felt it and just like kind of ejected it out of my body. And it felt more like it had left me. Yeah, it's not to say I still don't think about those things, but they're just, because I physically did that, to me it makes sense that it's gone out of my body and I've left it with them, and that's with that one, that's with that person, and that's with that person. I really forgive them, I do, because it's gone, it's in the past, and yeah, I feel better for it.
Yeah, do you know how the 12-step recovery program teaches people to forgive and let go of those things?
No.
So in step 4 of 12-step recovery programs, like you probably heard of the 12 steps.
I've heard of it, yeah, but I just didn't ever know what it was.
Which for me, it was just really game-changing. And it strips away the layers of your ego massively. And similar to what you do, you write down a list of all the people that have harmed you.
Yeah.
And what they did to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's terrible and it's justifiable. And then you have to identify like what what they did to you actually was, scaring you. Was it because it was leading to financial insecurity? Maybe they were challenging like your, you're going to lose sex, or things like that. It was related to sex.
Yeah.
They're going to take that away from you, or you're going to lose that, or they're going to give it to someone else, or things like that. Or even just physical fear, things like that. And then once you've done that, then you have to reread it and then identify like your part in that, in how they've harmed you. And we always have a part in it. So sometimes like your part could be that you actually gave too much time and energy to a toxic person, and you have to be accountable for that. And it's like, it's a humbling experience. And when you actually start to really honestly think about what my part was in that harm that they did, you can almost, in nearly 99% of cases, you can almost always find your part in it. I think the only time I think that it's really unjustifiable is maybe through, terrible sexual assaults, and things like that. But most times you can always find your part in things. And then the next level of that is once you've done that, the people that you've done harms to, and you've discovered your part in how they harmed you, you've then got to go to them and make an amends.
Physically go to them.
Yeah. Well, there's sometimes.
Yeah, or on the phone or something.
On the phone, or it could be a letter, or if you stole money off them, you just go and anonymously send them the money back.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, man, like it's hard, it's raw, it's nasty, it churns up all sorts of stuff. But goddamn, you're free. You feel free afterwards because you've taken total responsibility. But not a lot of people do it, and I don't do it very well. I've done it. And I've still got amends I need to make,
Yeah.
And I've harmed other people.
Yeah.
That I need to go and probably still make amends for.
Yeah.
When the opportunity arises. But by doing all those things, for me personally, that put me on a trajectory to some type of spirituality.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's interesting, man. It's powerful.
I think for me it was.
Yeah.
Maybe not for everyone, but I was just identifying with how you were saying you wrote a list out. But I just think so many people just ignore and put it away and avoid. And if you do that, I've seen it time and time again. It always will come up again.
Yeah.
Unless you really deal with it like you were talking about. So.
Yeah, it's pretty confronting, but yeah, if you can do it, I think you'll notice a change for sure.
Well, it just takes courage.
And to know that, like, I can do this, That's why it's good to share these stories, I think.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so, for sure. Like, at the cafe or in the surf or whatever, if it's the right person, don't go and say this to anybody, but if it comes up, I'll happily share things with people for sure, and, maybe it'll inspire something that they might think, oh, maybe I can try that too. Or...
Do you think your art, on going back to your art, do you think your art resonates with non-surfers?
Yeah, I think so for sure. Yeah. The last kind of, look, I don't even remember the last few paintings that I've done for people. I mean, there have been surfers, but I don't think they're drawn to it because it's like, when I look around here, I can't see much to do with surfing in my art. What do you see in my art?
Okay, from my I'm definitely no art critic.
No.
I just think it just screams spirituality. Like I see like a dove that kind of reminds me of the word grace. I see an all-seeing eye. I see crosses. I see someone meditating, and they're common themes. That's kind of what I see. I see so much more than surfing. I think what does draw me and make me feel like it's surf related is definitely the colors, like that blue that you use. And also like the way you do your clouds reminds me of whitewater. Yeah.
I think more so that I think it's because I am a surfer and probably the small audience that I have, like, on Instagram or in my circle of people I know and stuff like that know me as a surfer, and maybe they're the people that mostly see my art.
Are they the ones that mostly buy your art?
No, mostly. The last person I sold a painting to was in Florida, and he was a real estate agent, so, and then the one before that was someone in Canberra. So it's all sorts of people. I'm just, on some people that approach me on Instagram, I don't know where they've seen it or whatever, but people just find things somehow and they connect with something unique in the painting, and usually it's something they've seen and they want something similar, and that's always interesting. I always try and talk to them too and find out, what do you like about that one? Where's it going to go and all that sort of stuff, because connecting with people is a really cool part of the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that part, you know. And
What about when they want a commission piece
yeah.
and you're not vibing,
Well,
but you need the money as an artist? Because artists need money.
yeah, for sure.
We need to support the arts.
Well, usually it's, like I said, usually it's something they've seen before, and they might, you know, like they might, I really like this one here. Can you do something for me similar to this? But I'd love it where you got pink to be green. And I'm looking at that one there because that one was for a house in Fingal, and I painted it to like what they wanted, the colours and everything. And then when it went up in the house, you know, one of the people in the partnership said, I really like it, but if it was green where it's pink, I think it'd work better. And I said, I can't really do much about that now. It's finished. So they said, can you do us another one? And I was like, well, I could, but that one's already been done. And, you know, so there's money involved there. So anyway, we worked it out. But, I mean, yeah, I'll still do the paintings, not every time, but if they're pretty close to something I enjoy painting, I'll still do it. But yeah, they won't be as enjoyable as you know, some of the other ones. But I'll still do my very best, you know, to create the piece and have a connection with it. Because I think if I have if there's work that I've done in the past, like for an art show or something that I've had to do really quick, and I'm not that connected to it, when people walk up to it and look at it, it really comes across. You know, you can see that people either feel something from the painting or a little bit or a lot. And I know if I'm really connected to it and I put a lot into it, they really connect with it more as well. Something just happens. So, yeah, there's definitely something special that happens there. The more you put into it, the more people feel. But, yeah, I mean, this is what I do. One person asked me to do a dog for them once, you know, and I just said, I don't do dogs. You know, I said, like, have a look at all my art on my website. That's what I do. Like, I'm not a mainstream artist that would just paint anything, you know. And, I mean, I do a few logos and stuff like that for people, but I always do them in my kind of, you know, whatever my style is, because that's how I do things the best and the easiest, you know. So, you know, and I have got friends that can do anything, you know. Someone wants this done or that done. Yep, I can do that. They're really good illustrators, you know, so they can do anything. But I've just got the things I do, and this is what I do. So if it fits in amongst what I do, I'll do it for you.
Do you have a particular piece that's especially significant to you personally? Whether it's like because of the creative process or the message it conveys, or do you have one piece that like really is like for you?
It's probably the one at home in my lounge room. Did you and Smitty see it there yesterday?
I think I've seen a few.
There was one big one in the lounge room.
Yeah, yes, over near the lounge off to the right.
The one over near the lounge.
If you're facing the lounge off to the right.
Yeah, that's the one.
No way.
Yeah, that one's called Cosmology, and I guess it was the last in a series of like waterbird paintings that I'd been doing since 2000, and probably for about 12 years or something. I'd been doing these waterbird paintings, and that was the very last one I did, and it was in a show, and it was really funny because I put it in there and I was like, oh my God, I really love this one. I want to keep this one in the family. And then someone came up and they wanted to buy it, and the guy came and told me, hey, someone wants to buy this one, and I looked at it and I said, oh, can you tell him it's sold? Put a sticker on it, and I want it. And he's like, you know, and obviously he was a bit disappointed because it was his gallery and they make commission off paintings and stuff like that. But he did it for me, which was really nice of him. And I took it home at the end, and it was funny because then the guy that wanted it, he ordered another one, so I painted another one the same, and I ended up painting 3 of those the same, like someone else wanted one, someone else wanted one. So there was really something special about that painting, and I think because I put a lot into it, because I knew it was the last one of that series, because I was like, that's it, I'm not doing any more of these, I want to move on to something else, which is these ones here. And and I think something really came across in that one for people, and that's why I think I did 3 recreations of it, sort of thing. And I've got, and you know, they're all original paintings, but I've got the first one, which is the one that was at home yesterday. And that one really means a lot to me because it's like when I used to live up at Mullumbimby, behind Mullumbimby up on the mountain there. I was on this beautiful mountain in this gorgeous studio and painting a lot. I was up there for 2 years on my own. And it was just a really special time. It was a transitional period for me from moving up from Cronulla to here. And, it was a big life-changing couple of years. But to have that 2 years by myself, just sort of surfing and painting and spending time with my two sons, and especially up there, immersed in nature, everything came out on that painting. It was like Mount Warning's in the background, and the big tree that was outside my house was there, and there's a little cabin that I put there, and all the birds and everything. Yeah, so it's just, I guess it's like a memory of that time up there, and that one's really special. I'm glad to keep that one in the family forever.
Yes, dude.
Yeah.
So what a legacy. It's a legacy. I always talk about legacy.
Yeah.
Like, what are we leaving in this world?
Yeah.
You're leaving all these beautiful pieces that are going to be timeless.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. I love it when you talk about legacy. I like that.
It's true. And I think, I've said this story a lot, but, going to a lot of funerals actually got me thinking about it. I'm like,
right.
Yeah, like what am I leaving in the world? I want to leave something kind of profound.
Yeah.
And I think artists are doing it all the time. Otherwise, most people, I'm just going to leave a bunch of photos, maybe like a soccer trophy from under 12s soccer.
Yeah.
For a lot of skateboarders, it's like maybe photos of it in magazines, like they're really important, it's significant. But yeah, that's why I'm so drawn to artists, because I just think they're just creating timeless pieces, artifacts.
Yeah.
Potentially artifacts.
Yeah. What would you call, your legacy is this podcast, isn't it?
Do you reckon?
Well, I'm thinking about all the people on it that I listen to and stuff like that, and there's some really inspiring conversations, and that stuff's forever.
You think?
Well,
yeah, I think
it's always going to be a library of like interviews, conversations, and I think that you have a particular, there's a thread for sure. You can tell that you care. and it comes through in the conversation. So it's like, imagine in 100 years, if we're not here, we probably won't be, and people can like access your library. You know what I mean? Like,
I've been thinking a lot lately about, maybe you got some ideas for me. Like, I want to, because some amazing things have been said on here.
Yeah.
And so much of it's in the digital world, it's on these digital directories. I use social media to promote it. And, when I pass away, it's like, what are people going to do? They're going to go through my Instagram. Like, I'm trying to think about how I can make these voices more tangible. And got some fans.
My mate.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's like how can I make these voices and these stories more tangible and timeless, whether it's maybe put them into a book of some type. I've thought about that.
Yeah.
Because that's ultimately why I do it. I'm not really doing it for like notoriety or fame. It's definitely a form of therapy for me. It's just taking me a while to admit, but I'm really open about it.
Yeah.
Every time, like, I learn from every single person I speak to. I've learned so much from you today. Like, even before the podcast, when we had, like, I wish we had microphones at the cafe this morning. That was a rad convo.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I'd like the conversation that to be recorded.
Why not? Why not?
Oh, well, hit me up with some questions from then and see if I go there. I don't know.
Well, I mean, just because you're unique and you're conscious and you don't want to follow the status quo, and when this exploration into things like, and these are quite common, like tantric breathing, tantric practices. That's interesting shit.
Yeah,
but it's also healthy, and it could be so healthy for a lot of people, but it's still a little bit taboo and maybe a little bit awkward to talk about in a public forum like this.
Yeah, for sure. I think it is. When you have conversations like we did, I don't know how many people in that, there was 50 people there. I wonder how many of those people could have joined in the conversation. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Well, like, we're in Byron Bay and it's like a bubble kind of thing of,
it's an energy centre.
It's an energy centre for sure. Yeah. But I think these kinds of conversations that we were having this morning are a bit more maybe accepted and maybe even known up here, because people come here and they kind of explore in those different sorts of ways. And And it sounds like a cliche, but it's true. People do that stuff up here.
Yeah, and there's people that take it too far, and then there's like that whole, that wokeism, which can be kind of off-putting. But you can't deny the efficacy of some of these practices. Like, you can't deny that growing your own food on a permaculture space and recycling, you can't deny that that's not better for your health. You can't deny that, in a loving relationship, practicing Tantra with someone that you love, you can't deny that that's going to increase your level of connection and synchronicity. And it's just because it's different. It's like, people don't, it's like, oh, what's wrong with you? But it's like, okay, we'll keep going the way you've been going, like doing the same thing and getting the same miserable result every time.
And I think because they're attached to different things, they're attached to different cultures. Jesus is attached to Catholic and Christianity, but he was just a man. Tantra's attached to like yogic and Hindu kind of culture in a way as well, and people might not be into that, so then maybe they're not into that, and it's like if you separate them, because I think we put those in those different places, you know what I mean? So if you kind of separate them from those, got to kind of almost unlearn and just come in with like a child's mind, and be super like fresh, innocent, and just take it for what it is, Whether you actually do it or not, it's one thing, but maybe being open to stuff is a really good start. And I'm always open to stuff, I can talk about, I love hearing all different sorts of things, all different philosophies, different religions, cultures, spiritualities or whatever, but I might not take it on, but I'm still open to listen to it because that's all interesting, Maybe you'll take one little bit and be like, oh yeah, that bit was really good. I'll add that to my journey, my adventure.
Yeah.
My personal one, because they're all different. They're all so different.
It is, and I think that's why it's so important to continually get out of your comfort zone and connect with people that you usually wouldn't connect with, that are different to you, even people that you think have opposing viewpoints. And if they do, take the time to actually understand their viewpoint. And you may still not agree with it, but there may be elements of it that help you further develop your own one. And do you think, like, given the access to information that we have as a society and as a world, do you think people are becoming more open and more willing to try different modalities for living?
Yeah, I do. I do think that, yeah, for sure. I feel like with the more, for some people, I think it can maybe be a bit confusing.
Yeah.
And I think for others, it's like a gold mine because they're like, oh, cool, I'll research this thing, And you only have to tap one thing on your phone, on Instagram, and then you'll get a flood of that information, and you can learn about it. And then you can like start going into something else and you'll start hearing less about that stuff and more about the new stuff you just tapped. And that's what I do. I'll just be like, oh, this sounds interesting. So I'll click on that and tap on that and then get a flood of that for the next few days and then learn about it and be like, no, I'm not really into that. So then I'll just tap on something else and I'll get a bit more of that. I think it's definitely for some people, works positive for some people and negative for other people, Depends on their, their personality type and stuff like that. But I, all in all, think it's a good thing, what I mean, for sure. I can definitely get stuck on there sometimes myself. And I kind of time can just slip away, You're like, oh my God, 20 minutes? I've just been looking at this guy or this girl's thing. Why was I down that rabbit hole? But yeah, there's definitely an access to some really good information out there.
Yeah, I think so. And I think people are starting to look for solutions because of just how miserable they are and just how dark the world is in a lot of ways. And I think, people are starting to be more open to alternative approaches and they are becoming more aware that the old ways aren't working. Maybe it's time to let the old ways die. And I see it more and more. And then when you come to I think Byron and this area kind of magnifies that, and it's an example of that to the rest of the world. And it's so easy to come here and criticize and see some people in linen pants and just go, oh God, and whatever. But if you sort of look beyond that, some good messages out there.
I think it's a melting pot of everything up here, isn't it? You see everything. I mean, you see, the linen stuff, in Mullumbimby, for example, it's so close to my studio. You see like people with lots of money, people with no money. You see artists, you see like straights, you see gays, kids, old people, farmers. Everything's mixed in there, you know. And it's like you have to be open to things in a place like this because everyone's just so different. You know what I mean? There's people like sleeping on the street over there, you know, and then someone will pull up in a Mercedes, and you know, it's like it's so different, but it's also so interesting, you know. And I love being up here for those reasons, you know what I mean? Because I feel comfortable. I feel okay walking down the street with, like, you know, my painting gear on with paint all over me, or no shoes
on.
Yeah, or whatever, you know, just to go and get something to eat. And if I want to dress up, sometimes I dress up and look pretty wacky. I'm like, I don't know, I just felt like doing that today. Like, sometimes I put those necklaces and beads on and go up to mum and get something to eat, you know, because I just feel like looking a bit weird.
And no one flinches.
No one flinches. They're like, oh, cool, man, where'd you get that? You're like, oh, yeah. So I think it's like it really opens people up to like alternative ways of doing, thinking, being, which is a good thing, I think.
There's an obvious gentrification of the area. It's hard to miss. And you can see there's a big gap between really wealthy and really poor. I've seen where I was skateboarding today at the skate park.
Yeah, right.
Tent city just in the bush off to the side, you know.
Yeah.
Right in the centre of Byron.
Yeah.
And I just feel like there's going to be more and more of that the way that Australia is going, especially. I know it's happening all over the world, but the cost of living and the rental crisis. You know, people really are being forced out into the street. Like, where do they go? You know, so you know, being in this space and living in this area and seeing that. I mean, where do you see yourself fitting in it? Are you somewhere in between?
Probably.
And you can survive?
Yeah, I can survive, yeah. I mean, I was lucky to be in this area in late 2005, and I was lucky enough to get a house then, you know, and, you know, things have changed a lot since then. But I think I see people now, like some of my friends that are, you know, in their 30s and stuff like that, and they're not even having those conversations, though, about, like, wanting a house or anything. A lot of them have just given up on that great Australian dream. Like, they don't even talk about it. They're just talking about the next holiday or spending money on other things. They're just like, they've let it go, you know, and they're just like, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be renting or living in my van or whatever. And people are finding creative ways to do things, you know, with like tiny homes on properties and different things like that. It's sort of opened up people's creative thinking in a huge way because
van culture,
they have to survive.
Yeah,
you
like
know,
the van culture stuff is. I mean, so many people living in vans now.
Yeah,
full time. Like my parents included, live in a school bus.
Oh, yeah.
Retired, turned into a motorhome.
Yeah, nice.
But now they've been living in it for like 14 years.
Whoa.
Because they just love that lifestyle so much. Like they're retired grey nomad types, but they're just like, why would we want to just live in the one place for the rest of our lives?
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
Well, there's the upside of it, you know what I mean? It's like you go down the Bruns in the morning and there's the vans parked where they're parked, but they're waking up on the water. Do you know what I mean? They're like waterfront. $5,000 home, $10,000 home, they're waterfront.
Yeah. Like who's laughing really? Who's laughing now?
Well, that's the thing, you know what I mean? It's like unlearning again, you know, like what's normal, what's not normal, and what dream have we been sold, you know, since we were born.
Why is the Great Australian Dream or even Great American Dream so potent, you think?
I think it's safety, comfort, all those things that like keep us comfortable, I guess, and in a safe place. You know, everyone. But safe from what? That's what I'm always curious about. Like, what are they scared of? Like, you're going to have to move in 6 months? Well, I think I'm talking more about primal needs. Primal needs. Yeah, okay. I think so, because they're still within us. You know, like in the back brain, the amygdala. You know, we still have those primal needs of like food, shelter, sex. You know, those things mainly. You know, and I think people still love to go into their home, whether it's a van or a tent or a house, and just have that quiet space to themselves where they know no one else is going to come in. They can have their own thoughts or their own, you know, do their own things or whatever, and feel safe from harm. You know what I mean? And they may not know that. It might be just like comfortable, but I think in the back of our brain there is that, you know, sense of like I want to feel safe from harm and, you know, predators or anyone coming into my space, you know, and so I think that's a big part of it for sure.
I think so. I never really understood, even as a kid, I never understood the Great Australian Dream of like getting a mortgage. Unless you can buy a house outright.
Yeah.
Okay, I just never understood that. Why would you be paying this thing off for 30 years? You never, and I would always, as a kid, I'd be like, well, you don't really own it. That bank still owns that. The bank owns that house.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's my house. No. The bank owns it. And I went to Malta on a holiday once.
Oh, yeah.
Because like I have Maltese heritage and I had some distant cousins there, you know, and I met them and one of them just got engaged. He's like, oh, yeah, we're going to live with my parents until we have enough money for a house. And my automatic response was, oh, like to save a deposit.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, no. Like, we will buy it outright, you know. And it's like, and they'll live with their family until they have enough money to buy a house.
Wow.
Not pay off a mortgage.
Yeah.
It's a real joke.
That is huge.
But again, we're in a position now where, like, who's going to be able to, like, save $1 million? Who's going to be able to save 200 grand? You know what I mean? Like, you can't even save that. So, I don't know. It's interesting.
It is, and everyone's in different places, aren't they? You know, and different wants different things, different needs, and some people need lots to be comfortable, and some don't need much. So I guess it depends what drives you and what you need, you know. And I personally don't need much. You know, I've probably got like, you know, I'm probably privileged from what I've already got. You know, and that's, you know, I've got a house and a car and surfboards and I've got this studio. I work hard for it all and I have worked hard for it all, but, you know, still.
So you're able to sustain a full-time living just through art mainly?
No, I do. I paint probably 3 days a week and then I've got a carpentry trade, so I do that, you know, 1 or 2 days, and then I've got a friend that has a surf school, so sometimes he gets me in for a surf lesson, and then, you know, and then I have the Byron Bay Surf Festival that I do once a year. So
is that still running?
Yeah, that's still running. Yeah, it's like 13 years, I think now, or something. So
for those that are unfamiliar, like break down what you do, what happens at the festival mainly.
Yeah, well, the Byron Bay Surf Festival is an annual festival. We have it in August, and it's a surf festival. Mainly, but it's a cultural festival, you know, so we have like films, music, art shows, special guests, you know, speakers and stuff like that, and mainly people from like the environmental kind of sector, you know, that want to sort of educate people on different things they can do in their lives and things that are happening in the world to sort of sustain our planet. And then we have like, you know, a surf competition and then free surfing events. Yeah, pretty much like that, you know. And
how many years has it been running now?
Well, it started the first one was in 2011, so I think we're up to number 13 coming up for this year in 2024.
Was there hiatus through all the lockdown stuff?
We still had it. We still were able to sneak it in, like, because I think, you know, things opened up a bit and it just happened to be the right timing and stuff like that. Yeah, so we were able to keep going through, but it was only small in those couple of years, and it's still, the one we did last year was still smallish. Yeah. But I think people are starting to open up to, you know, getting a bit more confident that, oh, this is like, you know, back to normal, whatever normal is now, whatever, but back to, you know, we can do an event and know that's not going to be shut down or whatever. More free. So, yeah, so that's, it's a good festival, you know, it promotes good things within surf and culture and educates people on some really cool things too on the environment and stuff like that.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, that's fun.
Do you have any sponsors for surfing?
Me, myself?
Yeah, do you get boards from anyone or anything like that sometimes?
Oh, I do. Yeah, I guess I have Stuart Darcy surfboards. Like he's a shaper. He's been a shaper for a long time. So Darcy's been I guess you'd call it a sponsor for a while. You know, he's been really generous with his surfboards, giving me some surfboards and stuff like that. And then I do a bit of work with a surfboard company called Varuna, and they're based in Bali, but they're also in Byron and all around the world. I think they're reaching out to, but they have a sustainable model where they grow their balsa in Bali, and they work with local communities there to sort of grow balsa on their farmlands and then harvest it and and then turn that balsa into surfboards and, use eco-resins and stuff like that to try and make the most sustainable surfboard in the world. And so I've been working on those, on some designs with those guys over the last 3.5 years. So we've got the Waterbird model, which was like modelled off that board up there, the Swallowtail. And then we've got a single fin that's one of Darcy's models. Yeah, it's called the Mid-Length Magic. So, there's those two boards within the Varuna collection. And, there's other surfers involved, other shapers involved, like Bo Young and Joel Fitzgerald, Morris Cole, and I think Jared Mell's involved now as well. Yeah, so there's a really bunch of really good crew involved with what they do. So, work with those guys. And then I work with another company called Dr. Bronner's, which they're a soap company.
Oh, I've heard of them.
Yeah.
It's all natural products, isn't it?
Yeah.
They do like a toothpaste.
They do all sorts of cool, good stuff for humans, like soap, toothpaste, shaving cream, all cleaning products and stuff like that. But it's more about Emmanuel Bronner started the product because he was into the slogan that we are all one. He was like, we're all one. And he wanted to spread his message about we're all one. And I guess he had some spiritual messages, and he thought, what's the best way to get this out there? And he's just they already had some soap making in their family, I'm pretty sure. So they started making soap and then putting his labels of what all one encompassed on the label of the soap to get that out there. So it's a fully organic product, and everything they use is recyclable and stuff like that. They go the full Monty with everything. They're amazing. They're such an inspiring company to work with, and so they're kind of people that I work with in surfing and stuff like that. And it's all stuff that I stand behind. I really believe in what they do.
Yeah, man. Wow.
Yeah,
so
it's
cool.
It's just good fun,
Sounds like it, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what's next for you think?
What's next? Just more of this, I think. More painting, more sort of it's just evolving. I'm just into evolving, really, mate, evolving as a human and trying to I guess be better at being me and being a person, and just being more accepting of people and more loving of people, and just trying to work out the things that still hold me back a bit as well.
Yeah,
always trying to work on those things, and with other people, with other therapists and stuff like that, and also in my own ways as well, just to be happier and and live a more blissful life and a more connected life.
Yeah.
Which I think puts us in a really good place, and being in that place is really cool to share with other people.
Yeah.
Because other people can get stoked off it as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and surfing definitely does that too. And, I think skating probably does.
I was going to say, do you still skate?
I don't much, mate. Nah, because I just don't want the injuries, because I want to surf every day.
Yeah.
So I think I did skate up to probably about 5 years ago, quite a lot still, because one of my sons skates heaps and he's pretty good. And so I used to skate with him a lot, and just at Bruns and Mulham and stuff like that around here. But just the injuries, I was just I just can't be out of the water for another 2 weeks because I hurt my knee or my elbow or whatever, or my hip.
Yeah, and that's it. I actually don't recommend it to people my age who have stopped for long periods of time and then want to get back into it. And if they do, I'm always just you just got to take it really, really easy. But even then you can get hurt. You hit a little crack in the footpath and fall over. And
yeah.
it's it's pretty brutal. But
what keeps you going with it?
I'm in this mindset of if I stop now, I'll never restart, because I never really put it down. Skating was always my first love, and then came surfing, which is so I love surfing, and I'll do it for a long time. But I'm actually quite amazed that I can still skate.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of I'm just going to ride this for as long as I can. But because it is so brutal on your body, it forces me to do things like yoga, really good hydration, eating well.
Yeah.
And take supplements, and it's a real motivator because I want to like try and just see how long I can keep it going for.
Yeah.
And I'm actually finding myself in this realm of like, I'm not a great skater, but I get told regularly that, oh, you're good for 47.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And this is like a new high for me. You know? It's like, not great, but hey, for a 46, 47, like, you're pretty good. Yeah. And like, I never expected that.
Yeah.
But there is a real resurgence of guys in their late 40s and early 50s who never really put it down and in some ways becoming like masters. They've just really refined so much. Like, you know, falling off your skateboard for 30 years, 35 years, you really learn how to fall.
Yeah, right.
You know, that's why I say to people, like, if you haven't been skating for a while, like, you know, you've lost the art of falling.
Yeah.
And then another thing about it too is it's like you become really refined with your movements. You're thinking about technique more. You're not trying tricks on ego. And, you know, if you're not going to make a trick, and you can start to predict when your legs are a bit sore, and you know that if you keep pushing, you're going to hurt yourself. So you stop. So you're skating with much less ego. And I think that's why. And then also like with surfing, like it is much easier on the body, but surfing's hard on your body too. But I sort of see that my goal is I want to still be surfing when I'm 80.
Yeah.
You know, but with the skating, I think maybe I've got another 5-10 years in me.
Yeah, nice.
Of actually, like, and I gauge that by how long can I ollie and how long can I flip my board for. When I stop flipping my board, I think then I'm done.
You're going to hang it up?
Yep. But I really get off on, for me, and I said this to you earlier today, like it's not so much about skateboarding or surfing. I'm just really drawn to creative people. And, you know, when you see a really good surfer surfing a wave creatively, it's so inspiring. Like Craig Anderson's someone that I see really creatively surfing a wave, like yourself, my friend Mark Ridgway. They're not trying to shred the shit out of that thing. They're just trying to make it look so pretty. And then you have skateboarders too. Like I'm not attracted to the most technical skater who does the hardest tricks. I'm attracted to the guy that does the most simple trick but makes it look beautiful. You know, and then often when you get to know those people, so many of them are artists or photographers or videographers or sculptors or musicians. So I find for me personally, I get more of that from skate culture. And that's what keeps me going back to it. And plus too, you know, with the podcast over the last 5 years, you know, I just get so much love from the skate community.
Yeah.
More so than the surf community. So it just keeps feeding my soul that way.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
It's really cool. Yeah.
Anyway, so how you feeling, man? It's pretty hot in this shed.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a shed, it's a studio. It's in a shed.
Yeah. It's that's right. Studio in a shed. It's bloody hot for sure. But that was a good chat, man. I can't remember half the things we chatted about, but
it's a bit of an artist's hub around here, right? So you've got like you and you've got another artist next door. And then another, sculptor you said?
We've got I've got like my friend that I share with right here. He's an Indigenous artist. And then...
Can you say his name? Don't want to.
Probably not.
Okay.
I think he likes to keep pretty underground, yeah.
Yep.
And then we've got 2 sculptors next to them and then a painter, then another painter.
Okay.
And then up top we've got a bunch of woodworkers. And then in the middle section there's about 3 photographers. So it's kind of like different layers of like the noise is kind of up the top and all the quiet stuff's down here sort of thing. It's a good zone because you've got people you can go and sort of chat to at lunchtime or whatever in between and just share some ideas with or whatever and shoot, you know, have those kinds of conversations.
Yeah.
My mate up the end's got a ping pong table, so that's kind of good for a bit of a physical outlet. And sometimes I just skate up and down here, just flat on the concrete, just to move the body.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a good little hub down here.
Yeah.
It's good little community, I guess, of artists.
Yeah,
sure.
nice.
Yeah, it's good, positive, and yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, cool, man. All right, brother. Well, let's go and enjoy the afternoon.
Cool, man.
It's been a pleasure, man, hanging with you today.
No, thanks so much, buddy. Appreciate you.
Mr. James McMillan, everybody.